Hello and welcome to Trader Talk. I'm your host, Dan Worth, and today I'm joined with Head of Sportsbook at Sporting Index, Neville Burdock. How are you doing today, Neville?
Yeah, good, thanks, Dan.
Good stuff. Obviously, you joined me at a really exciting time with the football season literally just around the corner. So today I'm just super keen to get your thoughts across the top four leagues in England. That obviously brings us to the most exciting one, in my opinion, the Premier League. There's been lots going on in the transfer window and in my opinion, a lot of shrewd business. I'd like to start with the goal scorer. So obviously City have signed Haaland, Liverpool have signed Nunez. And I also wanted to talk about Ronaldo, but let's start with Haaland. And how much impact do you think he's going to have for Pep's team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been quite an interesting transfer window so far. As you mentioned, Haaland is probably the sort of the highlight signing so far for Man City. It's hard to knock a signing like that, really. His goals record is phenomenal for Dortmund last year in the Bundesliga and Champions League. There's no doubt he's a very direct and exciting player to watch. I think you just would expect him to score goals for Man City this season. Obviously, he's cost a lot of money, but it's probably reflected in his ability. I think we've actually quoted Haaland in for around 22 league goals for this coming season, which I think is about fair. I think he got around 30 last year, all in for Dortmund across the various competitions. But I know he was injured for a fair bit of last season as well. So 22 league goals for Haaland looks about right, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree, and I probably would go around there as well. One key thing that I'm worried about is the injuries that you mentioned. Obviously, he's got a bit of a track record with injuries, but I suppose he will benefit from a month off during the World Cup. So it'll be really interesting to see how he gets on and how he adapts, and also how he fits into City's team. I mean, they've it feels like they got rid of Jesus and got him in. You'd argue they're relatively different players. It's super interesting.
I mean, that's the thing with Man City. Obviously, last year they like to play without a striker in the false nines with Bernardo Silva in the like. So it will be interesting to see how Haaland fits in and if they need to change their style of play to suit him or not.
Yeah, I completely agree. So moving on to Nunez, then, in my opinion, another exciting signing for Liverpool. One of which I think does strengthen them a little bit. But what are your views on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm so sold on the Darwin Nunez signing from Benfica. Obviously, they've lost Sadio Mane to Bayern Munich. For me, it's hard to know how much game time you can actually get when you've got the likes of Salah, Jota, Firmino, Diaz in the squad. I don't necessarily see him hitting the ground running, but he may prove me wrong. I mean, he's definitely going to be, I think, a great player, but probably within a year or 2 years' time, I don't necessarily see him hitting the ground running, to be honest. But it would definitely be interesting to see how he gets on for them.
For sure, and I wonder how much impact he can have on bridging that gap to Man City. Obviously, Liverpool would love a few more goals, but they weren't exactly without them last season. So, as you said, it will be super interesting. Now, just to jump back quickly, we spoke about City getting rid of Jesus. I've seen on Twitter it's causing quite a lot of stir as to how many goals he'll score this season. I think he's in for around 16 with Sporting Index. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think on the face of it, I think that the Jesus signing for Arsenal looks like a good fit for both player and club. I mean, obviously Arsenal have had their sort of fair share of quality strikers over the years, and more recently with players like Aubameyang and Lacazette, but it hasn't really worked recently for them. It would just be interesting to see if Arteta can get it right with Jesus. And I think, as we mentioned, Dan, you said Jesus, we've got him in for 16 goals. Similar with Nunez, we've got Nunez in for 16 goals. So obviously, you can probably tell from my comments, I'm quite keen on Jesus and not so keen on Nunez. So I'd be happy to sort of buy Jesus goals to sell Nunez goals at the same sort of quote in sort of get with Jesus off scratch in a match bet. But yeah, just really interesting to see how those two players get on in particular this year. I think the thing with Jesus is I just think he's going to be guaranteed more game time with Arsenal compared to Nunez for Liverpool. Just you think the number of games Liverpool are going to have to play next season in all competitions, in the sort of strength in depth Liverpool have got. So you can imagine there'd be quite a bit of squad rotation, but I don't necessarily see that with Arsenal. So I just would think Jesus is in for more sort of game time and potentially more goals on the back of that.
Yeah, and of course Jesus won't have the adaptation time. He's already got plenty plenty of experience in the Premier League, so that might also work in his favour. But then next up, another player that's got bundles of experience is obviously Cristiano Ronaldo. He's causing a big stir in the transfer market. Will he stay? Will he go? How much of an impact will it have? Is he better off going for Man United? Is he better off staying? I mean, there's no doubt his goal-scoring record, even last season, speaks for itself. But yeah, what are your views? Do you think him staying is the best for United, or where do we start?
Do we even know what the latest is with Ronaldo? Because I mean, the last I heard, there was talks of showdowns with Ten Hag, and there was a contract dispute. I think what we do know is he's got 12 months left of his contract. But you just have to wonder how many games he's going to actually play for Man United this season. And then on the back of that, I think I was looking at a Man United total goals quote for this season. I think was 65, 67.
Yeah. You
just think that might look a little bit toppy, considering they only got 57 last year. So yeah, I mean, I'd probably be a seller there of that Man United goals quote. But it's Ronaldo, so anything's possible, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can never write him off, and he'll probably always deliver the unexpected, which makes him so exciting. So lastly, on the Premier League, I wanted to discuss Newcastle. Obviously, how really turned around things last season, and they seem to finish the season super strong. I think quite a lot of quotes are quite punchy for them. I think on the points market, suggesting they'll finish around 7th. Yeah, what are your views on that? Do you think they really can kick on so much this season?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we obviously offer a season points quote for each team in the Premier League, and I think our current price for Newcastle is 55.5, 57, and we've actually seen a lot of sellers there at that price. So our price has actually come down by I think a point from our opening quote. Yeah, I think Newcastle sort of one of those teams. I mean, things could go well with them. They've obviously got the money behind them now, but you still worry that they're able to attract quality players to the club. I know that they have made some good signings last year. It will be interesting to see how they get on this season.
Yeah, definitely. I think the pessimist in me probably would side with the sellers as well there, but yeah, you're right. There's nothing stopping them with the money. It's just whether they can attract the big players, and I guess the sort of structure and everything they have puts them in good stead. But yeah, it's going to be one to watch for sure. And so before we move on to the Championship, I need to quickly nail down your prediction. Who are you backing for the Premier League, or is it a bit of a given?
I think without looking to sort of state the obvious, then it's probably going to be Man City. But I wouldn't necessarily want to be a backer of them at the price. I think fixed odds are around 4 to 6 at the moment. So yeah, a bit of an obvious selection, I'm afraid.
No, that's all good. I thought as much. Okay, then moving swiftly on to the Championship. Obviously, the 3 teams relegated last season are 3 super strong Championship teams in my opinion, and I think this season is going to be sort of one of the highly contested seasons in the Championship. Who do you sort of see emerging from the pack, or do you think it's a case of the 3 teams relegated fighting for it again at the top?
Yeah, I think out of those 3 teams, so we're talking about Norwich, Burnley and Watford. I think Norwich and Watford have an obvious chance of a quick return back to the Prem. You could probably describe them as yo-yo clubs. I think Burnley, they're a different matter altogether, and it's not hard for me to see them struggle this year without Dyche and a whole host of the sort of staple players that they've lost over the summer. I think they've lost their entire defence of sort of Pope, Mee, Tarkowski, Collins, which defence has always been their strong suit. I mean, I know they've brought in a few Man City kids. I think probably with the Vincent Kompany connection there. But then again, I think there has to be doubts over the manager as well, given his inexperience of what is a tough league to manage in these days. So yeah, I think Watford and Norwich will do well, but not so keen on Burnley.
Yeah, fair enough. It'll be super interesting to see how Kompany, how he fares, because it probably brings a lot of excitement to Burnley fans, but I'm kind of with you. I'm not really sold on his sort of CV. And I mean, the Championship, as we all know, is a different beast to any other league in the world. So, yeah, I imagine it's going to take him a while to adapt. And a stat that I was reading earlier, which probably isn't going to be great news to either of those 3 teams, is that I don't think there's ever been an occasion where all 3 relegated teams have gone up. So one team at least is bound to struggle. And I'm with you. I'd imagine it's probably Burnley of the 3.
Yeah.
But Burnley, speaking of Burnley, they start their season off against Huddersfield. Another interesting stat that I found is is how playoff finalist losers fare in the season coming. And the average finishing position is 4th, which I think as a Huddersfield fan, you'd probably be quite happy with. What do you make of their chances this season?
I don't really see them doing as well as last year. I think they've obviously lost their manager.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't necessarily see them sort of getting playoffs, to be honest. So I think they'd bite your hand off for a fourth place finish this season.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so moving on, I think it's time we discuss both of our teams. We can start with your team, Bristol. They're in 66-1 to win. I'm guessing you're not having any money on that.
Can't believe you've gone and brought up Bristol City. I mean, I'm usually the most optimistic of fans, but yeah, I'm struggling to see us do well this season. I mean, we've generally gone backwards over the last couple of years since sort of Lee Johnson left. Obviously, we've got Nigel Pearson in at the moment. I think the jury's still out on him. He's sort of signed a lot of aging ex-Leicester players like sort of Danny Simpson, Matty James, Andy King. Things haven't gone too well. I think I would give him some credit because he's played a lot of the youngsters and brought them on well. So players like Alex Scott, who recently starred for England in the under-19s tournament that they won. And we've got some players like Antoine Semenyo and Hando Masengo, which I think will do well this season. But I think I think the best we can hope for is a mid-table finish. But I don't know. I think on paper he's made some good signings over the summer. So we brought in Kane Wilson, Mark Sykes, and Cal Naismith. So again, I just think we're going to be so reliant on Andreas Weimann goals up front. He got over 20 goals last season, which was his best ever season. So mid-table, I would say. Yeah,
I mean, it feels a fair reflection. Mentioning mid-table, I think you're 7-1 for the top 6, so that might be a little easier for you to get on board with. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and obviously I wish you all the best. But I think I need you to wish me all the best more for supporting Reading. I think it would be quite silly of me to have rose-tinted glasses at the moment. It's going to be a super difficult season. Do you have any comments to that? Anything to sort of ease my worries?
No, probably not. I mean, obviously, betting on relegation markets these days, you sort of need to have intricate knowledge of the financial dealings of all the clubs in these leagues. Obviously, we saw last year the points deductions for Derby in Reading, and probably not hard to see further deductions for clubs as well this year. I think on the face of it, I think you would expect Reading, Rotherham, and probably Birmingham to struggle this year. And I think, they are sort of quoted in sort of the bottom 3 places as things stand.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I'm hoping we can prove you all wrong and get that survival done. I've got all my faith in it. Before we move on to League One again, I'm going to try and catch you on your championship winner for this season.
Yeah, so I think I'll probably look to be with Middlesbrough this year with sort of Chris Wilder in charge in obviously his good record in the lower leagues. I would expect a playoffs position from them at least. I think they finished 7th last year, just outside the playoffs. I think they're going to be a tough team to break down. And I don't necessarily see them going goal crazy either. I can probably see them grinding out a lot of sort of 1-0, 2-0 home victories, which is sort of what you need to get promoted. I actually did just spot this morning that they've signed Marcus Forwards from Brentford, which I think will be a great signing for them in should get goals. Middlesbrough.
Nice. Thanks very much. So moving into League One, I know I said the Championship was slightly contested, but it's impossible to argue that League One isn't either. Quite a few sort of experienced Premier League teams of yesteryear in there. But I want to start it off with Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, again, unlucky in the playoff final, and after all of their financial difficulties, it would be good to see them sort of bounce back this season. What do you make of their chances?
Yeah, as you say, they got unlucky in the playoffs last year. I think Sunderland beat them with a sort of an injury time winner. I mean, I think they're favourites for the league this year. I think they look to have made some great signings over the summer. So they brought in Michael Smith up top. In midfield, they brought in Will Vokes in Tyreek Backinson. So I think justifiably that they are favourites for the league. And I can see them going well. Yeah,
me too. And I think they're definitely one to watch. But my opinion is that Derby are going to have a really strong season actually. And obviously, again, we spoke about financial issues, but hopefully they're sort of over the back of that now. And you can see from the signings they made, they've really started to push on and rebuild. I think they're 13-2 to win League One, which it might be a little bit short for them, but I think I'd be on the right side of that. What do you sort of make of their chances? Do you think they can bounce straight back?
Yeah, I'm not so keen on similar to Burnley. Really, I'm not so keen on Derby. I think rookie manager in Liam Rosenior. They obviously seem to move from one financial sort of problem to another. Yeah, they've made a lot of signings, but to me, they all look like aging players, sort of the wrong side of 30. So, players like David McGoldrick in Conor Hourihane. I'm never quite sure how much sort of fight or drive you get from those sort of players in the lower leagues. Yeah, I don't know. I think they've struggled. I can see them struggling to get to the playoffs, to be honest. But that's the beauty of football opinions. You think they'll do well, and I think they struggle. So it'll be interesting to see at the end of the season, who was right, who was wrong.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And yeah, well, I hope I'm right, but we'll pick that up at the end of the season. Again, yeah. So before we move on to League Two, who are your picks for League One?
Okay, so I've gone for outside chance with Bolton for League One. I think Ian Evatt is slowly putting together a decent squad. And they finished last year very strongly. I'd be very hopeful of a top 6 finish by them, if they can get off to a good start. I don't see why they can't challenge for the league, especially with the likes of sort of Dion Charles in Dapo Afolayan up front. So yeah, Bolton.
Yeah, it does feel like their time is on the horizon. So I won't disagree with you on that one. And then finally, let's go through League Two. I guess the question that I keep seeing on Twitter is it finally Salford's year, or will they be waiting a little bit longer?
Yeah, I think for League Two, I think Stockport are rightfully favourites for that league, given their sort of demolition job in the National League last year. I think the studies, promoted clubs from the National League always tend to do well in League Two the following season as well. They've kept hold of Paddy Madden up front. I think he got 25 goals from last year, and I think he's favourite for top goal scorer in League Two this year as well. I guess you could give Salford a chance. They just seem to be so inconsistent last year, and it never really looked like challenging for promotion. I see they've signed Callum Hendry from St Johnstone up front, so I guess they are hoping he can score the goals for them. I think last year they only had sort of one player that scored more than 10 goals for them, which was Thomas Asante. But they did have, goal contributions right throughout the team. So yeah, probably too short for me, Salford, but I could see them going well.
Fair enough. And the next team I wanted to talk about was Mansfield, who coincidentally are my pick. Again, there's a recurring theme here that I'm enjoying all of the playoff finalist losers, but they obviously had a season of 2 halves last season and won 11 out of 12 on a run, I think. And that kind of form is golden in League Two, and that could solve your season if you can do that. So I'm feeling quite positive about them. Do you have any comments on their chances?
As you say, they finished very strongly last year. I think we've actually got them almost second or third in on our points list for League Two, and actually they've been very popular as well with our clients so far. I had a lot of buyers. They've been bought up. So yeah, I would expect Mansfield to do well.
Very nice. So yeah, I guess the last question to ask you on League Two then is who are you going for?
Yeah, I think I'll probably side with Stockport. I think they're around 7 or 8 to 1 to win the league, so I'll be happy with that.
Very nice. Thanks very much. So that's it then for the 4 leagues. I just wanted to go back through your picks. So you've got Man City in the Prem. In the Championship, you went for Middlesbrough. League One, can you remind me?
Bolton,
and Stockport to finish off. That's got to be quite a tasty quadruple.
Yeah, I think it's around 1,200 to 1. I think if you did the quadruple, so I think I'm obliged to have a little bet on that now.
Yeah, you're going to have to now. Cool. Well, I guess at this point, Neville, I just wanted to thank you very much for being on with us and for all of your insight. I want to wish everyone at home the best of luck with the upcoming season. I hope it all goes well for you and your teams. And lastly, just to remind everyone, if you are gambling with us, please do so responsibly. And keep in mind that these opinions are mine and Neville's and not that of Sporting Index. So thanks again, Neville, and enjoy the season, guys, at home.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.